Hey everyone, welcome back. All right, let's get into it. Today, as we move into the overnight hours, temperatures will begin to drop significantly across much of the country, especially in the northern and central regions. The western U.S. will continue to hold on to relatively mild overnight lows, with places like Southern California and Arizona staying in the 50s and 60s. However, the northern Rockies and the northern plains will be dealing with a deep freeze as temperatures plummet below zero in parts of Montana and the Dakotas. Wind chills in these regions will be exceptionally harsh, dropping as low as 20 to 30 degrees below zero in some spots. If you are in these areas, be sure to take proper precautions when heading outside, as frostbite can occur in just minutes under these conditions. Further east, the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic regions will still be under the influence of the warm air mass for now, with overnight lows in the 40s and 50s, but this will not last long. A sharp cold front is set to sweep through, dramatically dropping temperatures by morning. In places where afternoon highs were well into the 70s, residents will wake up to readings in the 30s and 40s. A drastic shift that will feel even more extreme due to gusty winds accompanying the frontal passage. Meanwhile, New England will see a brief period of snow overnight, particularly across upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, though accumulations will generally be on the lighter side. Looking ahead through the rest of the week, the mild air in the southeast will persist for a little while longer, as a steady southwest flow aloft continues to pump warm air northward ahead of the approaching storm systems. This will keep temperatures well above normal for much of the south and east, with highs reaching the upper 60s to lower 80s in many spots. However, by the time we get to the weekend, a major pattern shift is expected to take hold. A powerful Arctic front will begin its push southward, bringing sharply colder temperatures and setting the stage for widespread winter weather impacts. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Out west, a significant atmospheric river event is bringing heavy precipitation to California and the Pacific Northwest, leading to dangerous travel conditions in higher elevations and the potential for flooding in lower-lying areas. This system, commonly referred to as the Pineapple Express, is funneling a tremendous amount of moisture into the region, resulting in heavy rain for coastal areas and valley locations, while the mountains are getting buried under feet of snow. Some parts of the Sierra Nevada could see snowfall totals exceeding 5 to 6 feet by the time this system moves out later in the week. Further inland, parts of Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado will also see substantial snowfall, making travel treacherous. As this western storm system continues to dump precipitation, attention will turn to the central U.S., where an increasingly active storm track will bring a series of winter storms. By midweek, a potent system will develop, bringing a messy mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain to the Midwest. Northern Missouri, Iowa, northern Illinois, and Indiana could see hazardous ice accumulations, while areas further north, including Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan's Upper Peninsula, will be dealing with heavy snow. Meanwhile, locations to the south of the system's track will experience heavy rain and even the possibility of thunderstorms as warm air continues to surge northward ahead of the storm. This storm will be followed closely by another one later in the week, which could bring an even more widespread winter weather event to the eastern U.S. Cold air damming along the Appalachians could lead to a prolonged period of freezing rain across Pennsylvania, Maryland, and parts of Virginia, while areas further north could see significant snowfall. Cities such as Pittsburgh, Albany, and even Boston could be in line for a substantial snow event, though the exact track of the system will ultimately determine the heaviest snowfall amounts. As we head into the weekend, yet another storm system is expected to form across the central plains and track eastward, further reinforcing the winter weather pattern that is beginning to take hold. Each of these systems will bring a combination of heavy snow, freezing rain, and rain, with the potential for localized flooding in areas that see repeated rounds of heavy precipitation. Additionally, the threat of severe weather in the south cannot be ignored, as the sharp temperature contrast will create a volatile atmosphere conducive to strong thunderstorms. Beyond these immediate storm threats, a major pattern change is on the horizon from mid-February. The stratospheric polar vortex, which has been relatively stable for much of the winter, is showing signs of a significant disruption or possibly even a split. When this happens, it typically allows Arctic air to spill southward into the U.S., bringing with it some of the coldest temperatures of the season. Forecast models are already hinting at a potential major Arctic outbreak, arriving in the second week of February, with the possibility of temperatures plunging well below normal for large portions of the country. So if this pattern materializes as expected, we could be looking at a period of extreme cold that reaches all the way into the southern U.S., possibly even bringing freezing temperatures into Texas and the Gulf Coast. With this increasing likelihood of Arctic air infiltrating the lower 48. The potential for additional winter storms will also rise. The European model is already showing a major winter storm developing around February 12-13, with another system following closely behind. These storms could bring heavy snowfall to the Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast, with significant accumulations possible along the I-95 corridor, including cities like Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston. While the details are still uncertain, it is becoming clear that winter is far from over, and the next few weeks could be some of the most active and impactful of the entire season. Let's take a quick look at the central U.S. now. We saw some intense temperature swings across Texas today, with parts of the state reaching near 90 degrees in the afternoon, while places just a little further north were dealing with temperatures in the 30s. That's a huge temperature gradient, and it's going to stick around for a little while. Tomorrow morning, areas that were in the 70s today will be waking up to temperatures in the 40s and 50s, while the northern parts of the state will be in the 20s. The cold front sweeping through the country is going to change things quickly, and we're already seeing some major shifts as we head into the end of the week. As the cold air from the north pushes down, the southern U.S. is going to experience a rapid cooling trend, and temperatures will drop significantly over the next few days. We're also seeing some warm, mild air continuing to linger across the southeast, but that's not going to last forever. By midweek, another cold front is going to sweep across the U.S., bringing another wave of colder temperatures and snow. As we get closer to the weekend, you'll start to notice the arrival of even colder conditions, especially across the central and eastern parts of the country. This could lead to some significant winter weather, including snow, ice, and freezing rain, which is going to make travel a bit of a headache for some folks. Be sure to keep an eye on your local forecast as these systems approach, because some of these storms are going to bring widespread impacts. Speaking of storms, we've got some major ones lining up for the West, too. Right now, California is dealing with the Pineapple Express, a weather phenomenon that brings in a lot of moisture from the Pacific Ocean, resulting in heavy rain and snow across the state. We're already seeing some significant rain and snow in the mountains, and this is creating some travel problems, especially in higher elevations. Flooding is also a concern, as Northern California is expected to see between 6 and 12 inches of rain over the next few days. The Sierra Nevada mountains are expecting to receive several feet of snow, with some areas possibly getting up to 80 inches by Thursday. If you're traveling out there, be prepared for delays, especially in the mountain passes. By midweek, that heavy precipitation is going to begin moving further south. Central California, including places like Los Angeles and San Diego, could see some rain, which would be a welcome sight after all the recent dry weather in the area. However, we don't yet know exactly how much rain is going to fall, so it's still a bit uncertain. But overall, this is a good thing for drought-stricken regions. In fact, we could see a lot of moisture for parts of Southern California and the Central Valley, though we'll need to keep an eye on the specific forecast for how much rain and snow will actually make it into those areas. But just as one storm system moves out, another one is on its heels. By Thursday, we're looking at another round of precipitation pushing into Northern California, bringing even more snow to the mountains and possibly some more rain to the valleys. Then, as we move in the weekend, we should see a shift toward drier conditions in the west as high pressure builds in. This could bring an end to the heavy rain and snow for a bit, but it also means a much-needed break from the stormy weather. Meanwhile, back in the Midwest and Northeast, we've got to keep an eye on some potential ice and freezing rain events. By midweek, the first of these systems will bring the threat of freezing rain to areas in the northern parts of Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, and northern Indiana. This is going to create some hazardous travel conditions, so if you live in or traveling through these areas, make sure to check your local forecast for any ice-related warnings. To the north, snow will continue to fall in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Great Lakes region, while further south, heavy rain and thunderstorms could cause severe weather for places like Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Looking ahead to Super Bowl weekend, it's going to be a busy time for weather, especially across the central and eastern U.S. We've got another round of storms on the way, and depending on where you are, you could see anything from heavy snow in the north to freezing rain in the middle of the country, and even some thunderstorms and severe weather in the southern U.S. The snow line will stay to the north, meaning places like the Dakotas, Minnesota, and the Great Lakes could see significant snowfall, while areas to the south may experience ice and rain. This is definitely something we'll need to keep tracking closely as we get closer to the weekend. As we get into mid-February, things are going to get even more interesting. We're expecting a lot of cold air to push down from the north as the stratospheric polar vortex gets disrupted. This could lead to a significant cold air outbreak across the northern and central U.S., with the potential for snow and ice to move further south than we've seen so far this winter. We'll need to keep an eye on the jet stream as we approach the second half of February, especially with the potential for a series of winter storms to move across the country. By the time we get to the third week of February, cold air will be spreading further into the central and eastern U.S., bringing the potential for more snow and freezing temperatures. It's still a bit far out, but the models are already starting to show some signs of major winter weather moving through, so we'll be watching that closely as we get closer to those dates. So, yeah, it's going to be a wild ride over the next couple of weeks, whether it's snow, ice, rain, or just freezing cold temperatures. We're going to see a lot of winter weather impacting the country. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay updated on all the latest weather forecasts and keep an eye on how things are developing. I'll be here breaking down the latest models, warnings, and everything you need to know. Don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends and family, and leave a comment below if you have any questions. I always try to answer as many as I can, so feel free to drop your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you all stay safe out there as we head into another week of wild weather. See you next time.